What's the most important thing you can put on a character? When you've got your weapon, when you have your armor, when you have your fashion, when you have your incantations, your spells, what is left to grace such perfection? What can be put on top of this magnum opus? What can you add to flesh out the last thing your character needs? Why, let me tell you, my friends, it is the most important. It is the lore. Lore exists throughout your playthroughs. Lore exists throughout invasions. Lore puts you to bed at night. Lore wakes you up in the morning. Lore, it pours you coffee. Lore makes you drink that coffee. And that same lore makes you cool and do cool incantations and spells and kills people. Lore allows you to cast Wrath of Gold and take out 2 people in a cool motion at one time with a riposte. What else gives you such satisfaction? What else but the lore and looking at them edgily after you do it?
So you'll probably recognize this character. I used him in a dueling video not too long ago, where I was trying to refine a single straight sword build using just incantations, and I finished him. Well, I finished him until I want to change him again. Again, I wanted to use a Noble Slender Sword, but just one of them, one sword by itself. It's not great. I mean, it's okay, but it's not, awesome. So I made a build around the weapon. Again, I could be using several other weapons, but at least for a while, I just want to use this one by itself on a build that I made. Not feeling like I need to swap a bunch in invasions. This is not the optimal way to play. I have characters where I hard swap all the time, but sometimes I just want to play with one weapon. And that's okay. So again, I made a build that works around that one weapon that I want to use. I have incantations that make up for the lack of the, versatility of one sword, like this Catch Flame Roll Catch that I've got here. Catch Flame is probably my favorite roll catch weapon, incantation in this game. So the lore on this guy. This is my Dark Saint character. He's around level 130. Basically, he wears the Flame Prelate gauntlets, the Knight's Cavalry armor, and Vike's fingerprint helm. Essentially, he was a noble under the Erd Tree, and after the Shattering occurred, he joined the Fire Prelates in the north to ward against the Flame of Ruin because he believed in the Erd Tree, and he wanted to protect it. After a while, though, the Order in the north became increasingly corrupted by their charge, the Flame of Ruin, so he felt like it was no longer his place. He took the gauntlets as a reminder of the duty he served there, and what that duty meant to him for the Erd Tree. But when he left the north and came back down to Lanedale as it was, and Marika's realm as it was, there was not really but so many choices left to serve the Erd Tree, so he joined with the Knight's Cavalry. So he is a Dark Saint, a dark remaining hero of the Erd Tree, who hunts down the Erd Tree's enemies for King Morgaunt, and that includes Tarnished who think they have a right to upend that order. In my head, he serves an Invader Covenant, centralized from Lanedale, with their symbol as the Erd Tree wrapped in a black flail, like the Knight Rider flail. The Noble Sword is the last heirloom he holds from his golden legacy, so hence there is the lore reason for the sword. And he is a Dark Guardian for the capital. And I guess I'm describing Batman. Alright, I actually do want to provide some useful things in these videos besides just lore, so we're going to look at a couple of invasions and see what we can learn from them. So whenever you spawn into a world in an invasion, you have tools in your kit. And the tools in your kit consist of more than just the weapon you have, the incantations and spells you have, whatever you've equipped. You are given tools once you come into that world. And, they can be useful if you remember to use them. In this case, namely, we're going to talk about something that is not always seen as incredibly useful. In fact, they're kind of a meme in Elden Ring, but we're going to talk about them. And it's the 3 bloody fingers you get when you come into the world. Now, it's easy to forget about these. I often do in Invasions a lot, because in the open world, they are pretty terrible. But in closed situations like this, in the Divine Tower of Caelid, where you have 2 players, both wearing the host ring, right, disguising which one is the host and which one's not, clearly, well, maybe not clearly, but possibly ganking, using sleep arrows, using the ball sack mace on high ledges. There can be a use for these, especially when you're having to deal with things. Did you see that Phantom eat himself off the side there with that Ash of War? Maybe he shouldn't have used that there. Anyway, they can be useful in situations like this, where there are ladders and there are choke points. And when a host, the host here, runs back towards what you know is the grace point, they can be useful for these situations. There is a giant ladder here. And I did not think about using the 3 fingers at this time. Instead, I decided to climb up that ladder after him. Now, tell me why this is a mistake. Is there a possibility, while I'm climbing up this ladder, that the host, after summoning his cooperator, is waiting at the top of this ladder, watching for me to come up it, and could have some tool that he's using that could knock me off of it? Namely, something akin to a volcano pot, which will knock me off and kill me immediately. If I had thought to use that finger, I could have teleported up there and gotten around that situation, but I didn't. So remember, you have them. Elden Ring has a lot of weird hitboxes, and I'm not sure that I'm using the right term for that, because what I'm trying to describe is weird edges and textures in the environment you're in. I'm in an invasion right now that I've started off, where the host is using Rykard's sword and the Phantom is casting Rot Breath. Now, you'll see and observe that Rykard's sword, the Ash of War, is not going past the top of this rope bridge here. But what is going past? The Rot Breath. So a handy tool that you can, again, kind of observe and you should watch is what type of weapons obey those wonky little areas and textures in Elden Ring and do not go past certain points. And also, what is useful is keeping in mind what does. So I do not need to worry necessarily about his Ash of War, the host Ash of War, hitting me on that bridge. What I do need to worry about, though, is that Rot Breath. Just by entering this area and engaging with these enemies, the host and the Phantom are at a huge disadvantage. This is a terrible place to fight invaders. It is also a very fun place as an invader to fight. But also, you have to keep in mind, it can be dangerous for you as well, because not only because of the rope bridges and the verticality, but I'm pretty sure that the actual PvE, if the explosion hits you, can knock you off as well. I don't remember, so don't quote me on it immediately right now, but I feel like it's true. What the PvE here does great, though, is separating hosts and phantoms very, very, very efficiently. So they're doing damage to them. The host is trying to run up and activate the shortcut. I'm casting Wrath of Gold, hitting him with my Wrath of Gold into Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear combo, and this Phantom is almost dead. So it just takes a little catch flame, roll catch, and he's taken down. I have no idea what happened to that blue that was in here. I might have missed it on the screen when he died, but I'm assuming he did, because I do not see him anymore. Anyway, the host has run back up to the Grace. He has essentially unlocked the shortcut, so maybe he doesn't really care about fighting anymore. We go up there anyway just to check, see if he's summoning his Phantom back, see if we can continue the invasion a little longer, have a little more fun. But we get up there, and it kind of seems like the host has just given up. So not really a great or fun way to end the invasion. Maybe you could at least fight. I know maybe some hosts feel like they just can never win, or they just kind of don't feel like it's worth it. But it's always worth it. You should always fight. You should always fight, because I'll respect you more. Not that you need my respect. I want to go back to talking about combos again for a minute, because I really think it pays to have a couple of combos in Elden Ring and Invasions that you have and you've practiced with several times to kind of keep in your back pocket for getting rid of, or at least doing high amounts of damage to hosts and phantoms with pretty quickly. If you can memorize and practice a couple of these until you're pretty good with them, you can land them reliably, they can help you a lot in invasions. Again, one of my favorites to go into is the Wrath of Gold into Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear. Just the one Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear so that I'm conserving FP. And then that goes into Piercing Fang, which can potentially roll catch. So that works for me. You should find one that works for you and practice it. More so than any other From Software game that has, PvP or invasions in it, I think that Elden Ring has given players tools that are a little bit overtuned. They're a little bit strong. They've been, nerfed and brought down quite a bit. But even to this day, Bloodhound Step, to a lesser extent Rivers of Blood, but definitely Moonveil, a lot of these Ashes of War weapons, they have always been strong. And players have begun to, not only begun, they've been clutching on these for a long time, at the expense of their own growth. And I think that it's, not only has it hurt them from becoming better at these games, but, I think it's caused kind of a lack of variety in Elden Ring and what you see in Invasions as well, and that has caused the game to suffer just a little bit. How you can use this to your advantage in Invasions should be fairly obvious. These tools are strong. They can kill you very quickly. They're very hard to chase down in the case of Bloodhound Step. But people that use them are often overconfident. They've relied on them for very, very long in situations where they're fighting with several phantoms on their side. They feel like they can just aggress you without any consequence. So if you can take out their phantoms, a lot of times they're much easier to kill, and they'll still be too aggressive at that point too. And you can use that and use their own aggression against them, and teach them to use something different. Any weapon that you want to use, you can use effectively in this game, provided you build around that weapon. Not all weapons are as good as other weapons, but them in combination with other things you have, incantations, spells, armor, whatever you have, whatever you want to do, Ashes of War, they can become effective and at least strong competitively if you use them the right way. So you see here my opponent is light rolling. He's got I forget, Reichard's Great Spear thing, whatever it is. It's still got the very fast crouch pokes. This is a hard weapon to fight. I'm at a disadvantage using just one straight sword in this fight. And I lose this match against this host who is, rune arced up in the very beginning area of Limgrave. That's a different topic entirely. But I don't lose badly. In fact, I am within a millimeter of killing him. And at the end, I just make a couple of bad mistakes and don't play quite perfectly, and I lose. But I felt very good about this fight because not only did the host have more health than I did, he was rune arced up, he had a better weapon than I did, he was light rolling. I made my build work that I wanted to use, and it worked pretty well, so I feel good. That's not to say that you will lose against good builds, though. As you can see here, this host is sitting here at the Grace. He has a lance. He's an arcane build. He's got bleed build up on his offhand rapier. He has a lot of poise. But I utilize my incantations. I utilize my weapon. I just play better than he does, and I beat him. It's close, but it doesn't matter. So again, you can win with whatever build you want to. You just have to play well and build around it, and it can work. I want to set you up, though, and any invader in this game, with the knowledge and the idea that sometimes, no matter what you do, you're going to come across builds and people that are just going to be, you just will not be able to beat them. Sometimes, whether it's because they're just have much more skill than you, they've been playing this game way longer, they have a build that's insanely more powerful than yours, they're abusing, glitches in the game, they're abusing, weapons that are clearly broken. They're using that in combination with different Ashes of War that are really powerful. Sometimes you're just on the back foot from the start, and there's not much you can do to win. In situations like that, you can use it as a learning opportunity, and also kind of a test of your own salt meter. When you come into fights that you are just not doing well in, and that you're, again, on the back foot about, just take what you can from the invasion, do as well as you can in the invasion, and when inevitably the fight is over, realize that you fought as best you could, and try to evaluate what went wrong and maybe how you could beat someone like that next time. You know, again, if you're not restraining yourself like I am in this to using just one type of weapon and building around it, if your build can allow for different types of weapons and you're willing to use different types of weapons in your build, which you should use multiple weapons to counter things in this. I didn't, because I just wanted to play with this weapon. But, you know, then you have more options. You can, you know, maybe come up with something to counter people that are using things that are a little stronger than your build, or that are using very strong builds themselves. But in the event that you fight those people and you lose, see what you can take from it. What went wrong? What did you do badly? How did you play badly? Could you have played better? Was there anything you could have done? These are questions that can be handy and helpful to you to ask in a positive way. You know, there's a strong chance that after the fight is over and the teabagging is done, you know, you can either leave the world in two ways. You can either leave it upset, salty, and, you know, just shutting off your game entirely, pulling your Ethernet cord and disconnecting, and, you know, and just writing a mean message. Or you can fight to the end. You can, again, learn something from it, take something from it, and realize that this is a game, and it's a game that you can get better at. And you can have fun in it, even in bad situations. Again, you know, you just remember it is a game, and it is a fun game. And you don't have to win all the time to have fun. You can make your own fun, even when it seems bleak. I don't have a lot of organic conversation or observations about this invasion. It's just one that was very fun and turned out very well in the end, so I've included it. But because of that, I'll talk about something else that I wanted to discuss recently that was brought up in a comment on one of the videos that I put out not too long ago about why I was using lightning-infused weapons instead of faith-infused weapons. Basically, the comment centered around the idea that if I infused my weapons with faith, since I was using incantations, I would be doing more damage. And I think what he was trying to say was, or what he was trying to, I guess, insinuate or ask was why I didn't put more points into faith instead of what was clearly dexterity in a lightning-infused weapon. Well, when it comes down to it for me, again, it's one of those things that you know, you think maybe you kind of forget that some people may not know this. Yes, if I put more points into faith, I will be doing more damage. But I prefer cast speed, which is cast speed is linked directly to the amount of dexterity you have. So at 40 dexterity plus Radiant's Icon, I have 70 dexterity, which is very fast cast speeds. Now again, I'm doing less damage than I would be doing if I put all those points into faith and use as incantations. But those incantations would also be a lot slower when I cast them. And so for me, the sacrifice in damage to get that fast cast speed to catch people with what you've been seeing in this video, the max cast, or not max cast, but pretty close to max cast, Wrath of Gold, lightning bolts that I've been throwing, or just lightning spears, and how those can roll catch, punish people for healing, actually finish the fights. That is much more valuable to me to be able to do that quickly than the extra damage I could get. And I'm sure I could get a whole lot extra damage. And that may not be what you want to do. Maybe damage is more important to you and you're better about timing your casting to make it work. And that's fine, but it's just a conscious decision I have chosen. A lot of these characters I hit 40 dex on. It's the old adage, I just keep going back to dex builds. But since casting speed is linked to dexterity, and dexterity is really important because of that, for the build that I've made in using these incantations, I'm going with lightning infused weapons because I have enough dexterity to make those work. And I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly, but I think lightning infusion is one of the elements that have the most, or I guess people's armor typically in Elden Ring is least resistant to. I have to check that again, but I know that it definitely seems like it's one of the better infusions in the game. So if you're wondering why my weapons are lightning infused, that's the reason why. The main reason is for extra cast speed, and the side point of it is that I think it actually does more elemental damage through armor, or people have less resistances to it. As you can see, in this invasion particularly, I'm utilizing the death frogs here to try to keep the host and phantom in the little death fog as long as possible. I'm trying to death blight them, but that's really my secondary objective. They're probably not going to get death blighted. It takes a long time to build up. But it's keeping them on their toes. It's making it so they can't immediately surround me and just wallop me to death with their weapons. And it's building up effect on them. It's letting me hit them. It's letting me run around. It's giving me more options to move and stay secure without being hit. As you can see also in the side, there's the little gargoyle perfumers that breathe perfume fire out. So it's just a little environmental thing. The frogs themselves are not very scary enemies, but what they spew is a very scary element on the map, and it is a large area of effect that can kill players. So you can utilize that even if they're not great, PvE to kill people. They can be very, very useful in that you can run around it and run through that death blight without getting hurt, but the host and phantom cannot. So if you find yourself in a situation like I was, where you're being chased down by 2 players, and you have some PvE like that, you can use it pretty effectively to get away. Use it as a blocker to, run through and hit them back and forth where they can't really safely do the same for you, or just to heal. It's effective for all those things. All right, everybody just sit here and appreciate the beauty of this game with me for a moment. Look at the rain and the effects fall on this skybox and this backdrop. The Erd tree in the background that's full of glory, Langdale in the distance, the little ghost phantom banners rising, a minor Erd tree, and then a little golden seed tree right to my left. The only thing disturbing this is this stupid message right next to me, although I guess that's a symptomatic of all Souls games, so it is what it is. Little windmills in the distance over there. God, it's pretty. So it seems like the video game awards are coming up. I would think that Elden Ring would be a shoo-in to win, even with God of War, which I've heard is a fantastic game. I'm not saying anything about God of War. I'm looking forward to playing it at Christmas myself, because that's when I've chosen to play it. But I don't think that God of War will supplant Elden Ring for me as game of the year, at least not in the time frame that I would play it. But either way, hopefully we get some DLC with the Game Awards. That would be incredible. That would be like the best early Christmas present ever. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we do. Hope you all have enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Maybe we'll get some DLC announcements by then. Hopefully. All right. Bye. Peace. Whatever. All of it.